Hey fellas, how you doing? If this is the first time you come to my YouTube channel, I really appreciate it. My name's Johnny Berber. I'm going to tell you my story. I've told this story quite a lot of times. I've told it in London in talks. I've told it on YouTube. I've told it through newsletter. This is the same story that I tell when I teach people on my 6 weeks program, roundabout. And I tell this story through the practical movement of speaking to people, men, women. And I also tell this story verbally when I teach people, counsel them, and help them to overcome their fears. I'm 33 years of age. I know I don't look it. For many years growing up, I was frightened of people. I was scared of people. I was nervous around people. I had anxiety. I couldn't make eye contact with people. I couldn't have conversations. I didn't understand what it was for many years. My family used to just say, he's just shy. And that's what they said at school, the teachers. But I felt frustrated. I felt I wasn't shy. I felt I was confident, but I was afraid to be myself. And a couple of years later, it dawned on me. And then I realized, and I went, shit, I know why I'm like this. And I was deeply ashamed, and I was deeply embarrassed, and I had a lot of self-hate, and I had a lot of anger towards life and towards people. And I realized that I was like this because growing up, my dad was very strict on me growing up. He was quite abusive physically and verbally, and he said some things that they damaged me when I was younger. One of the things he said, I can't remember the exact whole sentence, but he said something along the lines of, and sorry my language, please, sorry, you sound like a cunt when you talk, or you sound stupid. And obviously I loved my dad a lot. He was my father, I really looked up to my dad, I loved my family a lot. But when my dad said that to me, I wasn't old enough, I didn't have the psychology, I didn't have the self-esteem to be able to handle that type of criticism from a family member. And he said it with such intent, I believed it. I was about 13 or 15, I can't remember exactly, but around the age of 13, 15. And that was an accumulation of many different, verbal attacks and physical attacks. On another side, my dad was very kind to me, incredibly kind and loving, which confused my psychology. As I got older, I realised that this inability to trust people, because I didn't trust anyone, I didn't trust myself, I didn't trust my family, and I didn't trust my friends. And this continued from age 13 all the way up to, I would say, age 25, 26, even 27. It was only sort of after 27 I started to mature and get more confident. But I went through hell. Because when you've got social anxiety, you're not just frightened of people, you're frightened of life. And then you hate yourself. You hate yourself because you think other people hate you, therefore you hate them back to protect yourself. You can't be yourself. So I felt like I was walking dead. Because when my dad was in the room, I didn't feel comfortable. I felt terrified. That's not an exaggeration. When my mum would speak to me, I felt a lot of love for my mum, but I felt scared. And when my family would get together, we'd have gatherings, I couldn't talk the way I'm talking to you now, all confident and clear and calm. I'd be like nervous, and my family were really worried. And I had a lot of embarrassment and shame around my dad. And this embarrassment, this shame, it became lots of anger. So then I was paranoid. I had lots of paranoia. I thought people were always trying to trick me, betray me and hurt me. So I go into social situations, I go into environments where most kids wouldn't even think about it, and I'd be scared I was going to get trouble, and I always attracted trouble. I got bullied in school for many years growing up. I got bullied around my area, and it wasn't long before I became a bully, unwillingly or unknowingly. This is unconscious. I didn't realise that I was being a bully. It was just to protect myself. I was a lovely guy underneath. A very nice guy like most guys, but I was hurt. And the trauma from my dad, it resonated on every area. Then it affected me with women. I was petrified of sexual intimacy and social intimacy. Just getting close to people scared me. Getting on the trains, when I was walking down the street, I thought people were judging me. If there was a car that went by and they were laughing, I thought they were laughing. I had this paranoia, it drove me crazy. And I had this vicious internal voice that kept saying, I'm a bad person, I'm a scumbag, sorry to be so graphic, I can't be trusted, I've got no value. It kept playing all the time, and it threatened me with everything. It threatened me with death, threatened me with abandonment, it threatened me with poverty, it threatened with me of not being liked. Not being liked is the most terrifying fear a human being can have. So I worked through this for many years. Luckily, I did have a loving family, and as I said, my dad was a very good man despite his angry outbursts. So it got to the stage when I was 21 years of age, I was a virgin, I was deeply embarrassed. Up until 21 I was lying to my friends, telling them that I was sleeping with women, and I wasn't. Because at age 16, a girl took a liking to me, she took me into the park, she was 17, she wanted to sleep with me, I couldn't get an erection, I was embarrassed. My embarrassment and my paranoia affected my body. My body wasn't even bad, I've always been quite a slim guy, but I thought my body was disgusting. I couldn't go to the swimming pool. When I'd go on holiday with my mum, I couldn't take my shirt off because I was riddled with embarrassment. I was paranoid that people would be judging me. I was fearful all the time. So after that happened with women, I thought, I can't take this no more. I did something that at the time wasn't proud of. I paid for a sexual prostitute. After that experience, I felt better because I was able to at least lose my virginity, but I still felt embarrassed. Moving forward, 22 years of age, this was a light bulb moment. I met a guy down the gym and I became friends with him, and he was very confident with women and people, and he inspired me. And my other social circle at the time, they weren't that supportive of me. I felt that I couldn't trust them, although I did like them, they were friends, but I felt a bit judged by them. And the judgment went right back to my dad. And I finally realised what the fear was. It wasn't just a fear of socialising and being judged, it was actually a fear of being confident. Because when I'd been confident around my dad, he'd called me the horrible names. So my psychology was wired up in a way where don't be confident in front of people, be recluse back into an introvert. So there was so much confusion on my psychology with my anxiety, a fear of being not confident, a fear of being too confident, a fear of being not liked by people. So the fears they were very, very complex. And then along came on the depression. And I remember at 25, I did a video about this before, when I was suicidal in my flat, and the inner voice said, "You're never going to fall in love with a girl," and I was frightened shitless. So I went on a journey, and I learned how to pick women up. I got really good. I got inspired by this man I met, and I practiced for 8 to 12 hours a day on the streets of London, all throughout different parts of London. I was scared when I started. I actually got very good because I found this my own secret, my own truth that helped, that got rid of the social anxiety and helped me to attract women. I'm sure you wouldn't think I'm being arrogant, but I had sex with quite a lot of women, more than I could have ever imagined, women from all around the world, and I thought I was ugly to begin with. But after I did all this with women and I improved more, I was still in pain. It was funny, I was on a high for a while, but I had more pain. I hit 30 years of age, I had a nervous breakdown. I'd become successful entrepreneur. I was a dating coach. I taught people all around the world. I'd had women all around me, swimming in women. And it was my last girlfriend, and I wasn't being as forthcoming and honest in my life. I was cheating in my relationships, which was again an unconscious fear of being abandoned, unconscious behaviours. So I wasn't a dishonest person, but I was being dishonest. And I thought, I just can't handle this pain with my dad. I've got to speak to my dad. The real truth was, I wasn't really frightened of attracting women in life. I was frightened of confronting the very thing that gave me the fear, which was my father. And of course I was so frightened because I didn't want to hurt my dad. I loved him, but I was hurt by how he treated me, and I had a lot of questions to ask him. One of which was, why would you do that to your son? Why would you treat me like that? Why would you make me feel like that when I love you? Why would you make me angry? Just an explanation. That question went on to more compassion towards my dad. Maybe my dad's been through things that I don't know about, because we didn't have that sort of relationship. It was very manly. I didn't cry in front of him. I wasn't vulnerable. So I had a hard time being vulnerable with people, which is a big part of connecting with people, men and women. I was always protecting myself, which made me, by definition and default, antisocial. So I got the courage. I got another mentor to help me in this area because I was a teacher myself. I needed outside help. And when I spoke to my dad, it lasted 5 minutes. 5 minutes conversation healed 30 years of pain, 30 years of agonizing pain that I hid from everyone. I hid from everyone, my friends, my family, life. And this was despite achieving global success, being a teacher, a dating coach, famous, sleeping with lots of women, mastering the art of meeting women. I mean, flat out mastering it. And I don't mean that arrogantly, that is the truth. To the point where I could go out and sleep with women every single day, but it didn't make me happy. Because I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to. So I had lots of tendencies that were out of alignment. I was a bit of a people pleaser, which was lots of my personality seducing and attracting women and letting people walk all over me. And I was a bit of a bully as well. So all these different personalities were psychological rationalizations to protect the once vulnerable boy. When I spoke to my dad, I was surprised that my dad took it well. I didn't do it violently, I didn't do it angrily, I did it from a loving, honest place. I was honest. And he appreciated it, and it healed our relationship. Because when I told my dad that, it gave him relief, because he was frightened of me. Of course he was. He didn't know how to connect with his son. Fear. This is what fear can do if we let fear get in the way of our family. Came out of my house, I thought, I feel so good. I don't feel dirty anymore. I don't hate myself anymore. I don't hate other people. I don't need to go and get out and sleep with loads of women to like myself. As a matter of fact, I don't need to be validated by anyone. I only need to be validated by God, myself. And the way I did that was by following what was in my heart when I was a kid, what I knew would wet in every area. It was honesty. Honesty was the essence of my truth. That was it. The way I communicated with friends, honesty. Because my whole life I struggled with honesty, and lots of people do in society, which I understand, because of all of our conditioning, because of our different beliefs and what we're taught in the media, things happen in our family. We're a traumatized generation. The most beautiful thing was, I forgive my dad. I love my dad. I've got no hate towards my dad. I've got no hate towards people, no hate towards myself. My social anxiety went. I can't tell you that I had this divine connection that I've never felt in my life. Actually, that's not true. Sorry, I made a mistake there. I have felt that when I was a kid, before the abuse took place with my dad, when I was with my family and my cousin. I've actually felt that feeling with my dad, actually. But he appreciated it. So, from that day forward, I promised, in my relationship, no games, no dishonesty. I'll do my best. But it still wasn't over. Because there was still a story, even though I healed with my dad, that was still bullying me, that was saying I'm not good enough. And I had to understand, where's this story coming from? It was coming from different parts of my life, bullying, the way I was, my upbringing. I struggled with money and jobs and stuff like that. So I started facing my fear. Guess what my fear was? My fear was to tidy my bedroom. My fear was to stop pornography. I was addicted. I had addiction. My fear was eating junk food. I was eating junk food, watching pornography, getting angry. Lots of little habits that we do in our life that we think is not a big deal. No one will know about it. Drinking alcohol, occasionally taking drugs. I started stopping all my addictions, which was inspired by my mentor, my late mentor. My first mentor inspired me with women, and I couldn't believe that more pain went away. So I'm pain-free in my life. I'm so happy. I just don't smile on the outside. So I wanted to dedicate, as much as my life until I'm passionate to helping other people with social anxiety. So I was always after confidence and love, and I went about it in different ways. Honesty. Honesty breeds confidence. When we're confident, we do the job that we love. When we're confident, we're in relationships that we like. But confidence not perfect. So my elder teaching was taking people out, helping them to speak to women, which was fantastic. I later realised my clients, my students had deeper aspects and needs. I started to work on those. So my teaching, I call it's in two ways or two branches. One is the practical movement. If we've got social anxiety and we're scared of people, the only way to overcome it is to speak to people. We've got to speak to women, men. But we've also got to get our integrity right behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is when no one's looking. Because how I live behind the scenes is how I show up when I speak to you on camera. That again was more of the essence of my teaching. So when we don't do addictions could be anything that you do to escape your pain, we feel good about ourselves. So when we meet people, we've got nothing to be ashamed of. What have I got to be ashamed about when I meet you if I'm an honest person and I live with integrity and I like who I am and I've got value to give? I'm sure you have too. This is what I teach people on my 6 weeks program. This is what I teach on all my programs. Once I got myself confident, attractive towards women. I'm not going to apologise because I work hard. I'm very, very good with women. A natural. I never used to be a natural. I'm very good in business. I never used to be naturally good in business. I had to learn. I'm very good at building relationships. I'm good at teaching people how to build relationships because I face my fears. It's about honesty. And it's not enough just to say honesty. We've got to practice honesty. We've got to live it in our life if we want to grow at this level, especially if you've got social anxiety. So I'm here today to say to you, if you've got social anxiety, I promise you, and I know what you've been through, no matter how painful it is, you can overcome it by being honest. For my whole life I was worried that people would judge me. Human beings are actually very understanding. What I realised was, there's not a human being on the earth that doesn't have shame in their life. We've all got things that's happened to us that we're embarrassed and shamed about. We've got things that we don't want to tell people. I like sharing my story. It makes me feel good, it helps other people. So all I had to do was go up to my dad and just say, look, this is how I feel, Dad. How can we resolve this? So I dissolved all my fears with honesty, which translate into love. Love overcome depression, suicidal thoughts, dysfunctional relationships, grew me a successful business. Now I help people to grow their businesses, to transform their dating life, improve their social life through one move.